2CC.
Great to be with you. Hope you're having a cracking weekend. Whatever you're up to, it's time now to be joined by Neil Hermers. He's our ornithologist and regular good guy that laughs at my jokes. Hi, Neil.
Tatiana, thank you for that intro.
No worries. Now, a bit to cover today. We like stats here in this segment, don't we, Neil? And 28,000 birds are found in a national park. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so there was a report from out of India. There's a fabulous new Ramsar wetland, and they've done some very early studies and found that there was 28,000 species of various wetland birds in this national park on the day that they did the survey.
Wow!
So the fact that there's 28,000 birds is fabulous. But one of the other wonderful things is that these Indian Ramsar wetland sites are now having the value seen in them that perhaps they haven't in the past. So the fact that people are getting out there, seeing what species are there, that all gives us information for the future in terms of what work might need to be done to protect the various endangered species that may occur in that reserve. It's a fabulous result, and 28,000 individual birds seen in one wetland is a pretty mighty effort.
That's fantastic. I should also point out, if you want to talk to Neil Hermers, our ornithologist, have a birdie question, 6255 1206 is the way to get in touch. Now, tell me, Neil, about this preserved egg that reveals what birds have inherited from dinosaurs.
Well, the extraordinary thing about this is that we now have an unhatched dinosaur egg.
Wow.
And what it means is that we can now see so what happens in all species tend to grow through their various evolutionary stages as they grow from a young animal. Mm-hmm. So humans, we all show our reptilian sides and our fish sides and things as we develop as small embryos. Mm-hmm. And as we grow, that's all revealed in those states. So in an egg, what you're seeing is some features which are very primitive features of the dinosaur, and it shows some of the various elements that then were inherited by birds. Look, we're finding out more and more about how closely dinosaurs and birds are related, and this egg is just now going to give us even more structural information concerning, the vertebrae and the muscle form, etc., at the various stages of evolution. An amazing new discovery.
That's incredible.
And of course, the other thing is that, we're finding things like dinosaur eggs with, embryos inside them now. We are really being very diligent in terms of our exploration of these things.
Is there a special way that it needs to be kept now, or...?
I haven't seen the details of how it's now having to be kept, but yes, there'll be some special things that are needed to be done to preserve that. And Tatiana, can I just, I know we've got a few stories that we want to chat about, but I was asked a story during the week about white cockatoos and corellas. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a subject that quite a number of people have asked me about. Everyone knows those big white cockatoos that are everywhere, with a big yellow crest. Mm-hmm. And people are noticing that some of them don't have yellow crests. Mm-hmm. And, of course, some of the white birds that we have around town, hundreds of them, are in fact corellas. They're not white cockatoos at all. Mm-hmm. And they don't have a yellow crest. In fact, they have almost no crest at all. They're almost entirely white. But someone pointed out to me that some of these corellas have big orange blazes on their chest as well.
Wow.
And what we have is actually a third species of big white parrot that gets around on our lawns and ovals, and that's the long-billed corella. Mm-hmm. And the long-billed is quite a rare bird in Victoria, but we now have a population of them here in Canberra, and you can tell them from the white cockatoos because there's it looks like they've had their throat cut. It's a pretty ugly-looking sight. But the orange breast on the front is diagnostic of these long-billed corellas. So good, well spotted. The people have been talking to me about the differences between the white cockatoos. There isn't one species. There's actually three species of large white cockies around Canberra. White cockatoos, little corellas and long-billed corellas.
Okay. Neil, we do have a caller on the line. Judy is after a recording of a local bird. Hi, Judy.
Yes, hello. Look, I've got a request for your segment. Mm-hmm. I was wondering, I'm sorry, if you could play a recording of a local bird, or a bird that's heard locally each week, and then tell us a bit about it, because I keep hearing birds outside but not knowing what they are, and I'd love to learn more about them.
That's a great idea, Judy.
Look, that's a fabulous idea, and I could do that. The local bird club, Canberra Ornithologist Group, has a library of calls, and I could certainly play from that library a call each week. One of the tricks about calls, of course, is it's a bit like learning a language. You just have to keep practicing, because there is variations in calls, and you hear them at different times and different loudness, etc. It is a bit like learning a language, learning bird calls. And it is that sort of skill you need. So, look, I think that's a great idea. I'd be happy to do that, Tatiana, and I can run calls from my end.
That sounds good, Judy. Did you need a job as a producer in radio? What a great idea.
I'm a good listener, a regular listener. I love your program.
Thank you so much, Judy.
Judy, give me a tip about one or two that you might like to hear first up.
Oh, gosh. I'll leave it to you.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Judy.
Thanks so much, Judy. If you want to give us a call, 6255 1206 is our number if you want to speak to Neil. Look, we may run out of time, Neil, because Ron from Charnwood is on the line now and wants to talk about an irritating bird. Hi, Ron.
Good morning.
Ron, an irritating bird. There's no such thing as an irritating bird.
Oh, there is. Look, it finds me wherever I go at Charnwood. Oh, truly. The coal is bad, right? The male coal is bad. He goes half the night. But the young coal, who demands food from those poor bloody wattle birds, he just never shuts up.
Well, look, I'll give you some encouragement. Ron, I'll give you some encouragement. In the next month or two, the young birds will follow their mums and dads off to North Queensland, and they'll head off to warmer climates. So,
look, I've bought this thing 3 maps already, and it still hasn't taken up the way.
Ron, you got to send them to anyone you don't like in Queensland, all right?
Yeah, well, I've got relatives up there. I mean, they've disowned me.
No, but I'll tell you something about the coals. When they go to Queensland, they stop calling. So up in Queensland, they don't have to. It's only when they're breeding, which is when they're down here and down in the south, that they do all this calling. Once they're up north, I've been in forests where coals are very common in Cape York, and you never hear them. And in fact, they're hard to find.
Right, I've got a job for you then. I've got a job for you. Stick a tape recorder on each one as they go back, and let them bloody live with it up there.
Yeah, look, they
send their noise and their horrible birds. Yeah,
and they do call all during the night too when they're breeding too. Which, if you happen to have a tree near your bedroom window, it's not a great sound. And they are new to Canberra. People say, "Look, I thought I would, didn't I know these when I was a kid or whatever?" No, you didn't, because the coals have only become common because the wattle birds have become common, and the wattle birds have only become common because we've planted out all of our gardens with lots of lovely plants for them to live in. So as our gardens developed over the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, the wattle birds got common, and then the coals found them, and they moved further south than Sydney and places like that, which is where they normally got to, and they only discovered Canberra in the last decade or so in any numbers.
Yeah, but with the coming of the coal, and they throw the eggs of the wattle birds out, won't the wattle birds sooner or later become basically extinct around here because the coals are taking over the nests?
No, that's the fascinating thing about evolution, isn't it? That as one species predates on another, the other one then learns techniques. The wattlebird will lay a little bit earlier than when the coals arrive, might lay later. It might lay a clutch in a different nest. That it's some of the research that's being done about how cuckoos and cuckoo hosts trick one another and then re-trick one another. It's amazing, and it's a constant evolution between the two. So no, the wattlebirds won't become extinct, but the coals and the wattlebirds will get to a point where they're sort of in some sort of balance. But what's happening at the moment too, Ron, is what you're noticing with the young birds is they're calling a lot because they're just about to migrate, and the parents are coming back to readopt the birds from the wattlebirds to then escort them back north. So this is the time of the year when the adults are coming. The adult coals are coming back to their young.
Yeah, well, I've seen them here, and I'm at Scullen at the moment, and we've got a water bowl down the back for the birds, and I've seen the female coals, and I've never seen a bird drink so much. They just drink and drink and drink and drink and drink. They don't bath, they just drink and drink. So they must be getting ready for the trip home.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, they're getting, and the young birds, of course, don't know how to get to North Queensland, so they need their parents. So whilst the wattle birds raise them, the young birds are going to abandon their adopted fathers and mothers and go back to their original fathers and mothers so they can find their way back to Queensland. It's an amazing little exercise that happens at this time of year.
Yeah, well, maybe we could steer them in a different direction.
Maybe. Ron, we have to keep moving, but thank you so much for the call. Thank you.
That was a great call.
Thanks so much, Ron. You are on 2CC. I'm Tatiana Clancy, speaking with Neil Hermes, our resident ornithologist. And Neil, we've got another caller. Jeff wants to know how to deter some cockatoos who are devastating his fruit. Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, hello, how's it going?
Good, thank you. What's happening in your garden?
Oh, the blessed white cockatoos, Salticus the cockatoos, have devastated the tree next to my place, full of walnuts, and they've been into them, chewed the living daylights out of them. Then they've moved into another tree that's got little berries on them, and they just chew and drop all the leaves and the remains of little berries. I just want to know how one could deter them from the garden.
Look, it's a common problem, and I have a Manchurian pear in my garden, and I hadn't seen the white cockatoos on it before, but they're actually now stripping all the berries off that particular tree at the moment. What happens is white cockatoos will move from one sort of food source to the next over a period, and of course they're in flocks, so you get a group of them come in together. They're really... Look, other than netting a tree or discouraging the birds from the area, for example, sometimes people feed white cockatoos and that encourages them to come to a particular street or a particular area. If there's people feeding birds in the area, that might be encouraging them, and if there was less of that done, they might not come around near your place. But what tends to happen is they find one spot where they get some food, and then they move a few trees along and find some other source of food, and they stay in an area. And look, they can be very destructive. So it's not a good bird to encourage around suburban gardens. Not only do they eat the fruit, but they can also damage furniture. They like redwood furniture as well, so they can actually damage, fences and verandas and things as well. And once they're well fed, they tend to become a bit bored, and they just sort of chew things just for the heck of it. So. Look, all I can suggest is if you've got valuable things, you net them out or close them out so that they can't get at things. I heard of a situation where they attacked a bonsai collection once, and the only way to protect them there was to cover them up, cover the plants over with a netting. They were valuable enough to do that. But other than that, not encourage them in the street is also a good tactic.
Yeah, and is it because of the season as well that they're coming as a result of the drought? And found a pretty good hit and haven't gone back out west again?
No, they're resident birds. They're permanently resident in Canberra. They breed in the hills and in the valleys and reserve areas around town, and then they form these flocks, which as you observed, they can come in as a group. And really, the only thing to do, they are permanent residents of the city and the ACT. The only thing to do is not encourage them into a particular street. Perhaps don't feed them. And if there is a plant that they particularly like, look at whether or not netting is possible.
Okay.
Jeff,
this tree's huge, so I can't. But thank you anyway.
No, I understand.
Thanks so much for the call, Jeff. Neil, as always, one call always begets more calls, so we've run out of time.
Tatiana, that's fabulous. I enjoy it.
Yes, and look, I love Judy's idea of bringing a bird call to us every week. I love it.
Let's do that. Let's do that. I'll tape up one for next week, and we'll run a call.
Neil, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks, Tatiana.
Thank you. Neil Hermes is our resident ornithologist.
Ray